He was a young man, fluent in the slick, modern slang of the city, his world a blur of social media and trending hashtags. She was his grandmother, a quiet, unassuming woman whose words carried the gentle lilt of a different time, a different place. He laughed at her accent, her old-fashioned ways, seeing her not as a fount of wisdom, but as an embarrassment, a relic from a past he wanted to forget. He had no idea that her quiet dignity held a story of profound, unyielding sacrifice, a story that would one day be revealed, bringing him to his knees with a painful, chilling truth. You won't believe the devastating secret she carried, and the powerful lesson he learned about the quiet power of respect and the beauty of his own heritage. In the bustling city of Lahore, Punjab, Pakistan, where ancient Mughal architecture stood in stark contrast to gleaming modern high-rises, lived a young man named Bilal Ahmed. At 19, Bilal was a product of his time, urban, tech-savvy, and effortlessly fluent in a mix of English and contemporary Urdu slang. His world was a vibrant tapestry of social media, online gaming, and the latest trending music videos. He dreamed of being a digital entrepreneur, of creating the next big app, and he saw himself as a pioneer, charting a course for a new, globalized Pakistan. He dressed in branded casual wear, spoke with a confident, almost arrogant swagger, and considered anything that wasn't current or cool to be, well, a bit of an embarrassment. Bilal lived with his parents and his Dadi Jan, his paternal grandmother, Safia Bibi. Dadi Jan was a quiet, unassuming woman in her late 70s, her face a map of gentle wrinkles that told stories of a life lived with grace and resilience. She had been born and raised in a small village near Kaysar, a place where the rhythm of life was still dictated by the rising sun and the changing seasons. Her Urdu carried the distinct, melodious lilt of her rural heritage, an accent that spoke of fields, not skyscrapers, of folk tales, not trending news. She wore simple, traditional shalwar kameez, her head always covered by a soft dupatta, a quiet testament to her unwavering connection to her roots. To Bilal, Dadi Jan's accent was, frankly, an anachronism. In his world of sleek, polished digital communication, her slow, deliberate speech, sprinkled with old-fashioned proverbs and words he barely recognized, felt out of place. It was not just her words, but her entire presence that seemed to whisper of a past he was eager to shed. He found himself cringing whenever she spoke in front of his friends, fearing their subtle smirks or the way they'd exchange knowing glances. He saw her not as a fount of wisdom, but as an embarrassment, a relic from a past he wanted to forget. One afternoon, Bilal was on a video call with his friends, Hamza and Omar, excitedly discussing plans for a new gaming stream they were setting up. Dadi Jan, carrying a tray of freshly made samosas and chai, a gesture of her boundless affection, walked into the living room. "Baita," she called out softly, her voice carrying that gentle, unmistakable lilt. "Your friends are here, God bless them. Have some garam samosi and chai. It will give you takat for your big studies." Bilal's face immediately tightened. He quickly muted his mic, but not before Hamza chuckled audibly. Garam samosi, Bilal?" Hamza mimicked, exaggerating the rural accent. "Your Dadi Jan is too cute, man. Still speaking like she's in the Pind. Pind meaning village." Omar laughed. Bilal forced a laugh, his cheeks burning. Yeah, she's old school," he muttered into the mic, glancing at Dadi Jan who, oblivious to their mockery, was placing the tray on the coffee table with a serene smile. "Thanks, Dadi Jan," he said, his voice clipped, not quite meeting her eyes. Dadi Jan, sensing his abruptness but attributing it to his busy schedule, simply patted his arm gently. "Work hard, Mera Bacha," she said, her voice filled with love. She then turned to leave, her slow, measured steps a stark contrast to Bilal's quick, impatient movements. As soon as she was out of earshot, Bilal unmuted his mic, letting out an exasperated sigh. "See what I mean? It's like she's from another century. I wish she'd just, update her vocabulary. It's so embarrassing." Hamza and Omar chuckled again, more openly this time. "Totally, bro," Hamza agreed. "It's like something out of a classic drama. You gotta get her to watch some modern Urdu dramas, maybe she'll pick up some new lingo." Bilal forced another laugh, a hollow sound. He nodded, trying to appear nonchalant, but a small, uncomfortable knot was beginning to form in his stomach. He didn't quite enjoy their mockery, but he didn't stop it either. He wanted to fit in, to be seen as modern, not tied to the old ways. He had no idea that Dadi Jan's quiet dignity, her gentle accent, held a story of profound, unyielding sacrifice, a story that would one day be revealed, bringing him to his knees with a painful, chilling truth. A few weeks later, Bilal was struggling with a complex coding project for his entrepreneurship class. He had hit a wall, his code riddled with errors, his frustration mounting. He paced his room, grumbling about the inadequacy of his online resources. Dadi Jan, passing his open door, noticed his distress. "What troubles you, Mara Beta?" she asked, her voice soft. Bilal sighed dramatically. "It's this project, Dadi January. It's too hard. I can't figure it out. All these foreign languages and logic, it's just impossible." Dadi Jan sat on the edge of his bed. "Impossible is merely a word for something we have not yet understood, Bilal," she said, her accent gentle. "My Abba Jan, your great-grandfather, he always said, when the path seems darkest, look for the smallest light, for it guides you true." Bilal rolled his eyes, a familiar wave of irritation washing over him. "Dadi Jan, please. This isn't some village riddle. This is advanced coding. It's not about riddles, it's about algorithms and syntax." Dadi Jan smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. "Algorithms. Syntax. Words, merely words. But the logic, the pattern, the building block of thought, that is universal. Tell me, what is the difficulty?" Bilal, more out of exasperation than genuine hope, began to explain his coding problem, using technical jargon and frustrated gestures. Dadi Jan listened patiently, her brow furrowed in concentration. When he finished, she surprised him. "So, if I understand correctly," she began, her voice slow, "you are asking the machine to do a, if X is true, and B if X is false. But the machine is doing C regardless. Have you considered that perhaps X is not being evaluated correctly? Perhaps it is not truly true or truly false, but merely undefined." Bilal stared at her, dumbfounded. It was a simplification, a rustic analogy, but it cut right to the core of his problem. He had overlooked a critical variable definition, making X always evaluate as false, regardless of its intended state. How did you know that?" he whispered. Dadi Jan chuckled softly. "Life, Mara Beta, is full of patterns. And puzzles. My Abba Jan was a master weaver. He taught me about patterns, about how one thread, if misplaced, can unravel the entire design. We must look at the whole cloth, not just the single stitch." This moment of uncanny insight, however, was fleeting for Bilal. He was grateful, yes, but still saw it as a lucky guess, a grandmotherly intuition. His embarrassment over her accent persisted. Then, a few weeks later, a renowned scholar, Dr. Amir Khan, a historian specializing in the partition of India and Pakistan, visited Bilal's university for a special lecture. Bilal, forced to attend by his history professor, sat impatiently, scrolling through his phone. Dr. Khan began to speak about the unsung heroes of the early days of Pakistan, the resilient individuals who, with little more than courage and conviction, helped build the fledgling nation from scratch. He spoke of the difficult choices, the profound sacrifices, and the hidden stories. At the end of the lecture, during the Q&A session, Dr. Khan showed a slide. It was an old, faded black and white photograph of a group of women, their faces etched with determination, gathered around a simple blackboard in a makeshift school. They were teaching children in a refugee camp, shortly after the partition of 1947, imparting literacy and hope in a time of chaos. These women, Dr. Khan announced, his voice filled with reverence, were the first teachers, the unsung educators who laid the foundation for our future. Many of them were barely educated themselves, but they understood the power of knowledge. One such woman, a young girl really, barely 20 years old, stood out. She had an extraordinary gift for teaching, even without formal training. She taught children to read and write under the open sky. Her name was Safia. Bilal felt a chill run down his spine. Safia. He looked closer at the photograph. The young woman in the center, despite the grainy quality, had the same determined set to her jaw, the same quiet dignity, that he saw in his Dadi Jan every day. His heart began to pound in his chest. After the lecture, Bilal, fueled by a sudden, desperate need for answers, approached Dr. Khan. "Excuse me, sir," he stammered, holding up a screenshot of the photograph. "The woman you mentioned. Safia. Do you know where she's from? What happened to her?" Dr. Khan, a kind-faced man, peered at the image. "Ah, yes, Safia. A remarkable spirit. She came from a small village near Kaysar. After the partition, she worked tirelessly in the refugee camps, setting up schools wherever she could. She believed in education, in the power of a single word. She had a distinctive, very melodic accent, a true Kajuri lilt, that made her lessons unforgettable. Eventually, she settled in Lahore, raised a family, but her passion for teaching, for quiet service, never left her." Bilal's world imploded. His Dadi January. His quiet, unassuming grandmother, whose accent he had mocked, whose old-fashioned ways he had dismissed, was a hero. She was a pioneer, a founder of the very nation he took for granted, a woman who had, with profound courage and sacrifice, literally built a future. The knot in his stomach tightened into a painful, aching despair. He remembered his cruel jokes with Hamza and Omar, his exasperated sighs, his profound, unyielding sense of shame. He had laughed at a hero, at a woman who had, with quiet dignity, laid the foundation for his own easy, modern life. He felt a profound, aching sense of shame, a shame that was far worse than any physical pain. That evening, Bilal returned home, his mind a whirlwind of guilt and revelation. He found Dadi Jan in the kitchen, meticulously cleaning lentils, her movements slow and deliberate, her face serene. The soft lilt of her voice, as she hummed a familiar folk tune, now sounded like the most beautiful melody he had ever heard. He walked up to her, his heart pounding in his chest, a profound, aching despair twisting within him. "Dadi Jan," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion, his eyes welling up with tears. She looked up, her gentle eyes filled with concern. "What is it, Mara Beta? You look troubled." Bilal knelt before her, taking her hands in his. Her skin was soft, lined with age, but strong. "Dadi Jan," he choked out, I'm so sorry. I was at the university today. Dr. Khan," he showed a picture. "A picture of you." He pulled out his phone, showing her the faded photograph. Dadi Jan's eyes widened, a flicker of distant memory passing through them. She took the phone, her gaze fixed on the image of her younger self. A faint, sad smile touched her lips. "Ah, yes," she murmured. "Those were difficult days. But we had hope. We had each other." Bilal poured out his confession, his voice raw with regret. He told her about his embarrassment, about his friends' jokes, about his foolish desire to be modern. He told her how he had dismissed her wisdom, her stories, her very heritage. "I was an idiot, Dadi Jan," he sobbed. "I laughed at your accent. I didn't see you. I didn't see who you truly are. I'm so sorry." Dadi Jan listened patiently, her gentle gaze unwavering. When he finished, she placed a hand on his head, her touch soft and comforting. "Mara Beta," she said, her voice filled with a profound, unyielding love, "youth is a time of looking forward, of chasing new stars. It is natural to sometimes forget the ground beneath your feet. But remember this, the roots that bind you to your past are what give you the strength to reach for the sky. My accent, my stories, they are not a weakness, but a testament. A testament to where we came from, to what we endured, to the beauty of our journey." She held his face in her hands, her eyes filled with wisdom and compassion. "You are my future, Bilal. And your generation will build a new Pakistan. But do not forget the foundations. Do not forget the quiet strength that came before you. Embrace your heritage, not as a burden, but as a blessing. For it is in our roots that we find our true identity, our true strength." Bilal embraced his Dadi Jan tightly, his tears soaking her soft dupatta. He had lost his arrogance, but he had gained something far more valuable: respect, humility, and a profound, aching appreciation for his heritage. He had been broken, but he had been remade. He had dismissed his past, but he had gained something far more valuable, a deeper understanding of who he was, and where he came from. He had walked into the kitchen as a fool, and he had walked out as a grandson who finally saw the true hero in his home. From that day on, Bilal's perspective shifted. He began to listen to Dadi Jan with genuine interest, hanging on her every word, eager to absorb her stories and her timeless wisdom. He found pride in her accent, seeing it not as an embarrassment, but as a beautiful melody of his heritage. He shared her stories with his friends, not with shame, but with reverence, explaining the sacrifices of the early pioneers, the quiet heroes like his Dadi January. He even started learning more about the history of Kaysar, connecting with the land that had shaped her. His friends, seeing the profound change in him, and hearing the powerful stories of his Dadi Jan, began to listen too. The mockery faded, replaced by genuine respect. Bilal realized that true coolness wasn't about conforming to trends, but about embracing his authentic self, including the rich tapestry of his family's history. He learned that the most valuable lessons are often found in the most unassuming places, whispered in the gentle lilt of an old woman's voice, etched in the lines of a face that had witnessed history. He had found his humanity, not in the fleeting trends of the digital world, but in the enduring strength of his roots. This story is a powerful reminder that true wisdom often resides in the quietest corners, and that our elders carry invaluable stories within them. It's a reminder that a single act of mockery can lead to profound regret, and that true strength lies in embracing your heritage with pride. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to be reminded of the beauty of respect and the richness of their own roots. Like and subscribe for more stories that will change your perspective and remind you that sometimes, the most profound lessons are learned not in lectures, but in the gentle words of a grandmother.